Sales is all about trust. And what I always say is charisma is the conduit to create that trust. The most effective salespeople I know, they show their scars. They say there's some quarters I had a goose egg, or I lost a big account, I lost a big client, I thought I had this whale on the hook, they got off, and they own it. And that ability to own those situations and talk about how you resolve to continue moving forward is the quickest way to connect with somebody, because it shows realness, rawness, vulnerability. I believe that confidence comes from action and repetition, and that when we practice and fail and practice and fail, but keep failing forward until we become more competent, then we build up both our competence and confidence.
What up, Entrepreneur Masters? Welcome to the Persistent Entrepreneur Podcast, where grit meets inspiration. I'm a 2-time author, trained business coach, world-class sales trainer, 3 times Ironman finisher, 23 years sober. My mantra, I exist to persist. And each week, I'll bring you powerful stories from relentless entrepreneurs, gritty business owners, and leaders who've mastered perseverance. Now is the time to get ready for these top strategies, these mindset shifts, and the inspiration you need to conquer your goals. David Hill is my name, and closing sales is my game. Enjoy. Hey, what's up, Entrepreneur Masters? Welcome to another episode of the Persistent Entrepreneur Podcast. Today we're with Milam Miller. What's going on, my man?
What's going on, David? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Bringing the Rizz to my audience today. Let's go.
Trying to, my man. Let's do it. It's a hot word, but I have a kind of a unique lens on it, so I'm excited to unpack that.
Yeah, it's funny. So last year I volunteered at my church. We do a thing called Royal Family Kids Camp, and so I invested a week to go out and spend a week with foster kids and be a counselor at the camp. There's like 100 kids. It was an amazing experience. But I learned a new word. These kids are anywhere from 9 years old to 14 years old, and the word was Rizz. And I had no idea what it meant, but by the time I left, I was almost the Rizzler. I wasn't quite the Rizzler, but I was almost the Rizzler, and I kept telling the kids, I am the Rizzler. So
yeah, only if you knew, kids. Yeah. Well, how did you? I'm curious, David. Did you ask them what that meant, and how did they?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Rizz is the kid. You could probably describe better than me, but you're cool. Rizz means you're cool. You got flow. You got charisma, right? Which we're going to talk about today. Your book, you have energy, right? People are attracted to you.
Yep.
And so there's a few kids that legitimately were those Rizzler kids, and they knew it because all the other kids flocked around them, and they were the leaders. And if they wanted to do one thing, then the other kids followed them and did it. So yeah, I think it's hard for somebody, not hard, but you will notice the people that just have Rizz versus maybe some people that don't have as much Rizz. I don't want to say no Rizz, but I guess there's probably some people out there that have no Rizz.
That's what I was going to say. That's the good news for your listeners, your audiences. Anyone and everyone can develop the Rizz. We all have charisma. We just got to learn how to literally craft it. And so that's the title of my debut book, The Charisma Craft. And I'm so excited to explain to listeners how they can do that in a way that's in service to others.
Amen. I appreciate having you here. Just tell our listeners who you are a little bit. You are a former senior leader in sports. What's a former senior leader in sports? What does that mean?
I come from the sports background, and I was a senior leader in the industry before I stepped away and launched my own private practice, Be Confident and Kind.
Got it. Okay. And you're described by your clients as the Real-Life Ted Lasso. I don't know who Ted Lasso is either. So sorry about, I'm striking out today. My Rizz is off, bro.
David, that's down too.
No, as a result of his leadership in European football, where he developed the ability to inspire and influence commercial sales teams to reach their fullest potential, generating over $20 million a year. Love it. Milam, launched the sales reskilling and upskilling practice called Be Confident and Kind, a movement to build human-powered future of work. His mission is to help leaders reduce internal team conflicts and increase external sales. I don't know anybody that's an entrepreneur that does not want to increase sales. And he has his new book called The Charisma Craft. The Charisma Craft, correct?
You nailed it. The
Charisma craft, and then it says confidence and kindness. So thanks for being here today with us, brother.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here with you, David. I have a unique story. If you are not familiar, which it sounds like you're not, with the hit TV show Ted Lasso, it's on
Yeah,
Apple
I was going to
TV.
ask you who's. I guess I should probably know, but
David, there's so many streaming services today, so I'll give you
Yeah.
some grace, brother. Like, where is this show? It lives on Apple TV. There were 3 seasons. It had a huge moment in the zeitgeist, cultural zeitgeist, and a lot of people were mourning that the show was over. It stars Jason Sudeikis, who comes from Saturday Night Live, and a number of other British actors. Needless to say, it has been renewed for a 4th season, which I'm super pumped about. But to connect that dot there, I'm from Texas. So, David, I grew up knowing one kind of football, and you and I were talking about it before we went live, which is the Dallas Cowboys. And somehow my career took me across the pond. What I mean by that is literally to England, overseas, working in the other kind of football, which we refer to as soccer. And just like the hit show, Ted Lasso, same idea. He was a college football coach, goes to coach a fictional English Premier League soccer team. He initially is labeled as too enthusiastic, overly zealous, whereas the Brits like to say too keen. And I too was given all those unwelcoming labels. What's this guy's deal? And I realized over time that in order to build bridges, really build alliances, I needed to develop my charisma craft. And so charisma became something that was less about me. It wasn't necessarily the art of attraction, which I was taught. It became the art of human connection. So it became less about me and being self-conscious with how I was perceived, and more about them, the team I was sent to connect with, serve, collaborate with, and ultimately lead.
I love it, man. It's how you show up. And it's funny, I did a presentation yesterday at the chamber and talking about this because I did it on connection, which I believe is the first step in any sales process. Somebody needs to first like you before they don't need to know you. I know there's the old know and trust thing, that old school, and that's fine. But if you're just meeting somebody, they may not know you. They certainly don't trust you, but they at least have to like you. If they like you, it's a great start. They'll at least listen to you. So we were talking about that yesterday. And what you said, it was interesting because I'm the guy that shows up. I bring a ton of energy. I have fun. I goof around. And there's some people that just don't resonate with that. I want to be more serious. I want to get into the meat and potatoes. And I'm like, all right, hey, that's cool, man. I love that too. But I also want to have fun. It's a short life we're all living here. And hey, you know what? Can't please everybody. And I think that's important for entrepreneurs to realize, because not everybody's your customer. And you can do an event and you may have 1,000 people at the event, and 500 of them just don't resonate with your message. But the other 500 do. And then out of those 500, maybe 50 of them are going to do business with you. That's just the way it is. But let me get back to you, because this is I'm interviewing you today. So let's talk about kindness and charisma. Okay. How does that, tell us how that fits into your sales process?
Sure. So a lot of research out there, or a lot of thought leaders suggest that in order to sell, you need to be confident. You got to go in there and know what you're pitching, what are the benefits, who the competitors are, your USPs, your unique selling points over them, any sort of edge that will give you a strategic advantage. And I actually argue the opposite. While all of that is important, you also need to lead with kindness. And what I mean by that is humanity. And you put it really well. In order to sell, you've got to first be able to connect. Or another word for that might resonate with listeners is be able to build rapport right off the bat. Like, you may not be able to get trust right away, because that takes time to cultivate and showcase that, hey, I'm a man of my word. I back up what I promise. But you can at least start to build rapport. So within the book, it's a 3-part book that is all about accessing a new mindset on charisma, embodying a certain set of skills that I call the ABCs of Riz, and then ultimately deploying tools that will help you grow that rapport and really build a firm foundation of trust. And so before I dive into all of that, what I will tell you, David, is when I launched my practice, be confident and kind was my personal mantra. And I know you have one as well. I believe it's, I exist to persist. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely. Thanks for knowing that. I appreciate that. Clearly you've listened to the podcast. Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because I very rarely use that in my business. My business is, my name is David Hill is my name, and follow up is my game. because I sell CRM and marketing and such and sales training. But yeah, I love that. Exist to persist. That's my existence, I would say,
And I
more
love
than
that.
anything else.
Yeah, I want to celebrate that because similarly for me, when I started my entrepreneurial journey, I thought, how do I want to show up in the world? How do I want to exist? And when I reflected on my career and the things that brought me and the teams that I was a part of and led success, it was when I was confident and when I was kind. So be confident and kind was my daily self-starter mantra. And only when I got into the work and talking with other sales leaders, anybody who is in a rev gen, meaning revenue generating role, that charisma or some form of confidence and kindness has helped them develop their charisma. And I say all of that because when I started doing research for the book, there was pioneering research out of Princeton University from an academic named Susan T. Fisk that actually identifies two factors in order for people to be perceived as more charismatic effectively. And those two factors are competence and warmth. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, if you are truly competent in something, then you've put in the reps. Because I believe that confidence comes from action and repetition. And that when we practice and fail and practice and fail, but keep failing forward until we become more competent, then we build up both our competence and confidence. And similarly, when we're warm, that means we're approachable, we have nothing to hide, we're, in our case, a man of our word, and we're just kind. Like we realize that, as you put it, life's short. We're not here for a long time. Let's have a good time and figure out how to do business together. Then that is a magic recipe for being perceived as charismatic, or what I like to refer to in my book as charismatic connection. So if you've thought of human connection as like somebody being polite, somebody being chivalrous, somebody is being well-mannered, that can all be true too. But really what I wanted to author was this new perspective on healthy charisma. When you're confident, competent, and kind or warm, then you can create this charismatic connection.
I love it. Yeah, I think the part you added was healthy. And sometimes you don't think about that, not healthy, but kind. Because I think in our culture, a lot of people think of Riz as just confidence. And I'm not saying it's not, don't get me wrong, but most people don't incorporate the kindness element. So why not? Why is that important?
Sure. You're right. Confidence is part of it, but there's a fine line because if we go too far, then it could be perceived as arrogance or bravado. So going back to this model that came out of the Fisk lab, it was not only Susan T. Fisk, but some
Well, let me
collaborators.
ask you a question then. So do you think The Rock, I'll use The Rock as an example. He's the guy I look up to.
I
Like,
love
do
The
you
Rock.
feel like he's kind? Yeah, I
Absolutely.
mean, that's technically he is. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
you're right. I guess he is actually.
Yeah, that's so funny you mentioned him. I actually wrote
Yeah.
a chapter on Dwayne Johnson, also known as The Rock,
You
for
did?
David.
Oh my gosh.
I have 6 different archetypes in here, and I ended up not publishing The Rock. And the reason being is because he is a showman, right? He gets in character to become The Rock. But when we strip that back and I see Dwayne Johnson doing relief efforts in Hawaii whenever there was the devastating fires, or letting his daughter like paint his nails and put makeup on him, you see this human, right? And you see the kindness that he exhibits towards his daughter to let him be her doll for playing dress up or what have you. And while I don't know The Rock personally, I would love to meet him, and hopefully he's listening to this. What I would tell you, David, is I want my readers and I want my clients to figure out who that leader within is, or that archetype that they can call upon. Mine is Ted Lasso. Even though he's a fictional TV character, he embodies the best of leadership, in my opinion, because he never taught any of his players how to kick a soccer ball, but he taught them. There was a sign in the show called Believe, and he taught each of them individually self-belief. I see you as a human. He taught them collaborative belief in team or teamwork. And then he taught them belief in something bigger than the team and in themselves. And that was the community that was rallying behind them. And so it's a really beautiful, like micro to macro view of when we believe in the power of people and that we can do phenomenal things. And we just need one person to believe in us, a teacher, a coach, then, and hopefully they're an encourager like Ted Lasso is, then we can do crazy things. And I bet Dwayne Johnson had somebody on his journey that did that in order for him to become this larger than life character.
Yeah. I still don't like, I love your example of him outside of the Rock character, but I kind of struggle to see kindness in the Rock character. Like I see like super coolness, super confidence, but I don't see the kindness. Do you in that character?
Yeah, I don't know if that's even possible because when you're in a sport like wrestling, your job isn't to be nice to your opponent. Your job's to win, to pin them down, have 3-1, 2-3. And I do think that niceness and kindness are misconstrued in our society. In being from Texas, and this is what happened for me when I went overseas, I thought I needed to just be liked, like we were talking about earlier. And if I was nice or played nice, was the nice guy, then I'd be liked. And we do business. And I realized that kindness is actually saying the difficult thing, but it's in the spirit to be constructive and help a person you lead, or it's saying the kind thing to a prospect. Our competitor can't do that. We can. And let me tell you how. Here are case studies. So kindness really does have this energy of this is in service to whoever it is I'm leading or whoever I'm trying to offer products, good services to. And The Rock, again, he's a public persona. I don't know him personally, but when I think about the kind thing to do, he could have never gone back to the WWE wrestling world. He's so larger than life, that stratosphere. I think the kind thing is to still stay plugged in for the fans, right? And to go back and give up himself, his time, his talent, his energy to be in that character.
That's a really good point. That's a good point. And I know you're just for people listening, and Rock, if you're listening, come on, let's get you on the show, man. You're the guy. But before we started recording, I just shared with you, I don't know, maybe I was just venting a little bit. Man, I've been on Zoom. It's 2 p.m. right now, Eastern. I've been on Zoom meetings since 10 a.m., 5 straight Zooms. And I don't know, I was just sharing it with you. And you're like, hey, man, you need to reschedule. And you were sincere. And I was like, no, I'm just venting. But I just say I appreciate that. And to me, that's kindness, not, oh, man, yo, you don't have time for me right now. So I thought that was really cool, man. So just want to say I appreciate that. And obviously, I didn't want to reschedule. But thanks for the offer.
You're so welcome, David. Thanks for that.
Yeah, 100%. So let's talk about, I want to go back to confidence and charisma. Let's say somebody just doesn't really have the charisma. Like, how can are there ways people can show up with that, with more charisma, more Riz, as we talk about? How does someone do that?
Yes, I'll tell you how somebody embodies it. And then I want to share 2 tools for listeners that are underpinned, one tool to confidence and one tool to kindness, just so we can be really clear on this balanced equation or formula.
Entrepreneur Masters, thanks for tuning in. I'll get you right back to the show. But first, let me tell you about something I've spent the last 3 years of my life building, Ring Leader CRM. It's a complete sales and marketing system designed to help you automate your follow-up, automate your sales pipelines, and follow up like a genius. The goal, close more sales. And you know follow-up is my superpower, and I've taken everything that's worked for the last 36 years of using CRMs and put them all into this one platform. And right now, you can grab a 14-day trial at ringleadercrm.com. At checkout, just check the box that says 14-day trial. And if you have questions, shoot me a message on any of my platforms. It's David I. Hill on all platforms. I'd love to hear what you're building. Again, ringleadercrm.com. Now, let's get you back to the show.
Question to me was, if somebody's struggling to develop their charisma craft, how can they do it? So I want to break down a simple formula that I call the ABCs of Riz, because I have a young son. You shared with me you have 3 daughters. Let's not overcomplicate this. ABCs is about as elementary as we can get. So what they need to first embody is authenticity. Now, David, I can't tell you how to be authentic. You can't tell me how to be authentic. But what I do know from being in sales my whole career is we know when somebody is being inauthentic. And so just calling back that story you mentioned, I really saw your authenticity when we first got on this one. You're like, oh man, I probably overscheduled myself today. That was very real, very raw, very honest. And my job isn't to fix it and be like, let's reschedule, let's do this. It's to provide options or agency and be like, you have choice. Would you like to? That's fine with me. I'm happy to do that. And you said, no, let's do it, which I also appreciate because your boy is showered and ready to go. It's that idea of how can I remain as authentic as possible when I'm constantly changing, growing, and evolving. So there's a self-awareness piece here. The B stands for be bold. And this is something The Rock has done his whole career, because boldness is celebrated in other people. The most charismatic people on the planet, they all have this common denominator. They choose boldness, even though they know it may be rejected. They may be ostracized as a result of it. But in time, that boldness, once they've quote unquote made it by Western standards or societal standards, people are like, that's so cool that they were brave enough to do that. And I always say that's the other B word that sits behind boldness, is bravery. And then finally, C stands for stay curious. And this is both about yourself and others. Curiosity has no limits. It truly, I think in sales, you mentioned connection being the first step. I would actually argue that this isn't a step one, step two, step three, but if you can be authentic and be bold, but maybe perhaps even lead with curiosity before you're ever prescriptive or ever even try to push a solution or get into the meat and potatoes. Everyone's wired differently. Somebody doing business in Boston where you are might look different than someone doing business in Dallas. There might be that warming up. But either way, you have to be curious about both prospects, clients, the world in which you're engaging in order to remain in that state of connection.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think some curiosity even sometimes will come before, let's say you have a meeting with somebody, do some homework on them first.
Yeah.
Before you jump into it. Don't just show up. You know what I mean? And I think that's important too. And I've guests on my podcast, and I'll be honest, sometimes recently I've been doing more, being intentional about reading through their bio, seeing their books, things like that. Where in the past, I didn't do as much of it, but now I feel like it helps me be even a better host or better interviewer. I know a little bit more. My questions can be better. And so I agree with that. I think that's important as a good first step, but also, yeah, but people don't like you though. That just doesn't matter how curious you are. It doesn't matter how good your product is. It doesn't matter any of that stuff. You're not going to get to that next point, which is
That's right.
which is important. Let's say somebody's, man, I'm not that dude. I'm introverted. I don't have Rizz. I don't want to stand in front of groups of people. What do you say to that person?
Absolutely. So this is where I'm going to share one of my tools that they can deploy, because ultimately you've got to make a choice, right? And this comes back to part one of my book about accessing the mindset. You have to choose to want to develop your charisma craft. You have to believe that it's a skill, meaning the skill can be honed and shaped to meet your personality, and that it's not an inborn personality trait. So many people think charisma or this it factor, you either have it or you don't. And the data shows that it factor, or what I call a Rizz factor, can be developed. So step one, shift your mindset. Step two, embody the ABCs: authenticity, boldness, curiosity. And then step three, the first thing I would tell somebody, especially if they're introverted or just they're like, I'm not that guy, I'm not confident. When they walk into a room, doesn't matter if it's a cocktail party, investor meeting, networking reception, a baseball game, right? Fenway Park, and they like want to walk with a little bit more confidence. They need to do what I call relax your shell. And your shell is your torso, because so much of our body language impacts the first impression of how we're perceived. And so this acronym of shell basically stands for S, soften your shoulders. That means roll them up and roll them back. Doesn't mean slump your shoulders. It means soften them, be loose. Just like if you're getting in the ring with Muhammad Ali or Dwayne Johnson. So S, soften your shoulders. The next one is so important. H, hands out of pockets and also outside from behind your back. People want to see other people's hands. And this dates back to our caveman day. If we have our hands behind our back, we think that somebody has a spear, or maybe in this day and age, unfortunately, a knife or a gun. So it's this idea that I'm approachable, I'm warm, I'm going to readily stick out my hand and shake yours, at least here in Western culture. E stands for exhale your chest, because it's one thing if you walk into a party and you're like peacocking, and we don't want to be seen as unapproachable or conceited. So this is where we have to soften the shoulders and exhale the chest. It's a posture of I'm still confident, but I'm not puffing up my chest like I'm going to beat you up, like I'm a threat. And then the final two L's, because I really want to make sure people remember this anytime there's two letters the same. Loosen your arms, like truly, like when you go into something, be ready, because then you're going to be a little bit more nimble, a little bit more playful in your language when you're talking. And most importantly, laugh and lighten up. The number one thing that or indicator of somebody being perceived as a threat or not, or being perceived as approachable and charismatic, is if they're smiling. And the quickest way to smile is to laugh. Okay, I'm an introvert. This is uncomfortable, but I'm going to soften my shoulders, show my hands, exhale from my chest, loosen my arms, laugh and lighten up. Like it's really, you're getting yourself out of your shell to be ready to connect with somebody else.
Yeah, I love it. So let's talk a little bit about AI. And we're in a world of AI, and you have half the stuff you see online, you don't even know if it's real. I was watching, I don't know how I even came across it yesterday, but I saw they created like a fake AI pop star. And so they created a picture of the girl, her music, her marketing, her album. The song was absolutely phenomenal. You couldn't even believe it was AI, and it lit it. What was it called? I can't remember the name of it now. But in it, the whole thing was done in 10 minutes.
Wow.
And I just said, wow, it's absolutely ridiculous what we can do now with AI. So I think there's a good side of that, and then there's a really bad side.
Yeah.
So in these times, where does this connect, when it comes to kindness, charisma, Riz? How's AI playing into this?
Yeah. So I think of AI as a enhancement tool that will help people be more efficient or productive at their jobs. I think of it, I use it in my business as an entrepreneur as a sounding board, almost like my ZA to keep me on track, help me think strategically, see around corners, not have my own blinders on. But what I've found really interesting is I know a lot of people are using AI like a friend. And it's almost like a de facto therapist if they're having issues in a relationship with a romantic partner or a friendship. It tells them what to do, but it doesn't always tell how. And I think that's the case when we're talking about charisma. It can teach you body presence tools like the shell technique I just shared, but I still don't know if the models are there to address the nuance, the tonality, the ability to really connect. And another tool that I have for kindness, I think the quickest way to build a rapport with somebody, especially if you're a sales leader, if you're leading a team, don't ask them, how many cold calls did you make last week? What's your close rate? How are you tracking for the quarter? All those things will get picked up. But when you have a one-on-one, which I'm a big proponent of walking one-on-ones, walk and talks, ask them to show you their scar. And this is another acronym. And basically, it stands for tell me about a situation that was challenging for you. Let's consider companionship. What if you had a companion in that situation, a manager, a friend, an ally that helped you feel less alone or like you weren't going at it by yourself? And then can you acknowledge for them or can they self-acknowledge, validate? That's a really human challenge. And that things happen in work that cause discomfort and make us feel like we may not have all the answers. But most importantly, the R stands for resolution, giving them agency to say, what do you think the right resolutions should be instead of fixing them? And I think AI is quick to fix or diagnose a lot of things. So I would run this SCAR technique, situation, companionship, acknowledgement, resolution through it for anything that a leader's feeling and try it out, see what it does. But ultimately, it's on you to have that tough conversation. And the most effective salespeople I know, they show their scars. They say there's some quarters I had a goose egg, or I lost a big account. I lost a big client. I thought I had this whale on the hook. They got off and they own it. And that ability to own those situations and talk about how you resolve to continue moving forward is the quickest way to connect with somebody because it shows realness, rawness, vulnerability. And I just think that we should do more of that in the future of work. And I think AI may create a scenario where we try to cover it up or try to fix things or try to jump into problem solving mode instead of just being in the ick, the emotion and being like, I'm human, I'm owning it, I'm learning from it, and we're growing and getting past it together.
Yeah, that's good. So you have a lot of acronyms, man. You're like the master of acronyms. So it's funny because I go back to yesterday, and so I have a short video with myself and Gary V. The second time I met Gary V, I was having him sign my book, and I asked him, Gary, will you be on my podcast? And he said, yes, set it up with Ryan. Ryan was the guy standing behind him, which we did. Finally got him on. That was in like 2017. But somebody in the room, and I'm an AI guy. I built some agents for sales, for follow-up, but anyway, it was interesting because when I showed the video, somebody in the room said, oh, is that AI? And my first thought was like, oh, of course not. But then when I got home later, at first I thought it was a joke, but then I realized maybe it wasn't a joke to them. Like they were asking like a real question. Did I make that up? So to that point, like we're in an environment, in kind of like a culture where you don't even know what's real versus what's not real anymore. Because yeah, I could have easily made that up.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what are your thoughts on that conversation?
Thanks for sharing that because I find that fascinating. And I like it on a number of levels. Number one, because the persistent entrepreneur, it sounds like you were persistent with Gary Vee and finally got him on. So kudos to you. But number
Yeah, thanks.
two, that also showcases just the degrees of separation on this planet are few and far between. It's a small world, David. And if I leaned into my authenticity, or you felt like I was authentic on this call, and I leaned into my boldness and said, David, would you be willing to introduce me to Gary Vee? You never know if I ask, right? Then there would be this element, I feel like, of a ripple effect where people are more willing to help other people. And we'd see these sparks of charismatic connection. Yeah, why not, man? Like, he's a busy guy, I'm a busy guy, you're a busy guy, but we're all human here. You know what I mean? And so I think one of the fundamental principles of charisma that I want listeners to think about is somebody that has it, and if you think you don't have it, you aren't born with it. Again, I want to encourage you to know that like you can develop it, whether you're developing it with the help of AI that's in your corner and coaching you in the background. That's great, but you've got to go and deploy it. You've got to go and have those conversations and really step into your power is really what I would say. So people like Gary Vee, people like yourself, David, people like me with my first book, this was scary to put this out in the world. And you're right, there are a ton of acronyms in there. I'm like, they're not going to remember all of this. But my hope is that listeners will remember just one and that it helps them feel more connected on this crazy planet spinning on an axis. If that's the case, then I've had the impact I want to have in the world.
So let me ask a better question then, because I
Okay.
clearly I didn't do a good job of asking the question because I didn't get the answer I was thinking.
Okay.
When somebody says to me, "Is did you make that with AI?" What they're saying to me essentially is that's not even real. So I guess in these times, how many people are actually thinking that half or maybe even more than half the stuff they're seeing is not real? And how do you show up with kindness and charisma when you can show somebody a video and their first thought is, did
It's
you just
real.
do that with AI? Or maybe that's just me. I don't know. Maybe that's how they perceive me. I don't know. Could be. But I'd be curious to get your answer on that, your thoughts on that, because I think it's an issue right now. And I know it is for me. I'm a phone guy and I don't like answering my phones now because of how many robocalls I get and
Sure.
bot calls and
Sure.
texts and fake emails and scams and right. Like it just doesn't stop.
I think what I'm hearing you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're highlighting there's this element of distrust, or at least
That's
question.
right.
Is this fact or fiction, real or fake? And I think some people might even go as far to say, oh, this person did that with AI, they're cheating. They're getting I don't know if I would necessarily say that, but there is this element of, can I trust this content, this person, this whatever it is? And sales is all about trust. And what I always say is charisma is the conduit to create that trust. So I do think you have to be both confident and kind and be as real and as authentic as possible in order to cultivate the trust and maintain the trust. Because it's like that old saying, my parents loved it when they were raising me. It takes a lifetime to build a reputation and 30 seconds to ruin it, or something to that extent. And I'm not saying that to poo on like creating agents on AI. Again, efficiency, productivity, we're all about it. And if that can create a conversation, great. But that next conversation, it better be real, David. It better showcase a lot of humanity or charismatic connection.
Yeah. And I think for us, we use AI agents to deal with the amount of incoming SMSs and
Yeah,
phone calls that are fake and stuff like that because it filters out the junk. And
sure.
then the real stuff, I'll jump on the phone or one of my people will jump on the phone
Yeah,
and call. And the nice thing about it is you get a transcript. So anytime someone connects with your AI, you get a transcript of what happened.
yeah.
And so that in itself is a game changer for a lot of salespeople for their sales process. But yeah, I think that the trust is an issue, and we're gonna just have to see where it goes. And I am sometimes surprised because I use AI a lot. I've been using it for years. I have many assistants built on GPT. I use Gemini, and it's very effective in a lot of ways. It's more effective in some ways than I am at crafting a really good email that hits the points that it can. And I forget where I was going. Where am I going with this?
I'm
Yeah. So,
curious, do you think your agents, these AI tools, which I don't think it's derogatory, but let's call them bots, do any
yeah.
of them strike you as charismatic? Are you like, oh my gosh, I love that response. I feel super connected to you.
Not at all. Not charismatic. So it's a good question. Charismatic, but effective. They can be very effective at the specific job that they have of handling an incoming call from somebody. And that's it. Other than that, they're not going to close the appointment. They're not going to do a demo. It's just handling the incoming call, getting it to the right person, and getting the person what they need. And sometimes that's all people want.
Yeah.
But I guess my point is, I feel like because I do so much with AI,
Yeah.
everybody does. But the more I get out there, the more I realize there's still I don't know what the percentage. I don't know. I'm not going to throw numbers out because I have no idea what percentage of population is using AI.
Yeah.
But it's less than you think. And I think there's a lot of people that still don't trust it and I don't know what percentage you use either, because it's not something we talked about. But I did see somewhere in your bio, you mentioned AI.
Yeah. You're
Right?
looking for it. I was just going to say, in this age of AI,
Yes, thank you. In the age of AI.
I think it's easy to get lost in somebody else. In other words, these agents in the background telling you what to do or how to be. And I think ultimately we've got to get back to what the research is showing. That's why I quote a lot of academics in my book, which is we don't need to overthink this. I'm trying to distill it down as simply as possible. To be more charismatic, you don't need to go out and buy a new pair of Air Jordans and be like, oh, he's the Rizzler. Look at his like fresh new sneaks. You've got to be you. And I know that might sound trite, but knowing thyself is the greatest gift to the world, because when we're authentic, they're like, oh, there David is like sharing his gift with the world and why he exists to persist. And he's running another Ironman. That's David. That's who he is. Writing another book so I just think that if we can balance the areas that bring us confidence and really double down on them, and also really cultivate that warmth, that human connection, then in time, your charisma craft, whatever you want to call it, if it's like the rocks, because maybe it's playful and there's some banter baked in there, great. That's your craft. But there's no one size fits all model when it comes to charisma. There's just these tentpole guides that kind of keep you on track to cultivate it.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah. Just be yourself, and that's it. And do your thing and do a good job for people, take care of people, provide value, and you cannot go wrong in this world. And yeah, what were we going to say?
I said, amen.
Amen. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Amen. I finally got an amen on my podcast from someone else besides myself. All right. I appreciate you being here, brother. How do people get a copy of your book? And give us the 30-second reason why they should go get a copy right now.
Absolutely. You can grab a copy of The Charisma Craft, a modern leadership guide to enhance your Riz factor on Amazon. We also are distributed through Target, Barnes & Nobles, other wholesalers. And the reason you should get it is because, number one, it's a quick and easy read. And you don't have to finish all books, but I hope that you'd at least finish this one. And number two, I can almost guarantee you will walk away with either a new mindset, a new skill set, or some tools that you can go out and deploy in the world. So pick up a copy, thumb through it. Let me know what you think. I'd love to know what resonates with you.
I love it. And here's what I'm going to say to everybody listening. I don't care what you're doing with AI. Utilize it. But you, at the end of the day, everything that Milam said today is you need to be confident. You need to have kindness. You need to be a good person, and you will go so much further in life. And then just figure out how to utilize some tools and with AI to help you get in front of more people. And I can help you with that. All right. Anything I should have said that I didn't say?
Last thing I'll say is my sales enablement practice is called Be Confident and Kind. We help upskill leaders in this age of AI. So what that means is coming back to your humanity, figuring out what it is that brings you confidence, your areas of competency, your kindness, and really highlighting that so you walk into your workplace to be a kick-ass sales leader that drives high performance. So if anybody's interested, they can find our work on the World Wide Web at beconfidentkind.com.
Amen, brother. Thank you. I appreciate your time today. Thanks for joining us.
It was such a pleasure. Thanks for having me, David.
Thanks for tuning in to the Persistent Entrepreneur Podcast. Remember, I exist to persist, and so do you. Make sure to check out our tools at www.davidhill.link. Again, davidhill.link. And as you know, my superpower is follow-up, which is why I spent the last 3 years of my life building the Ring Leader CRM. And right now, I'd like to give you a free 14-day trial to test it for yourself. It was built by me, a 36-year outbound salesperson for salespeople who want to close more sales. If that's you, go to www.ringleadercrm.com right now. Sign up and get yourself a free 14-day trial. When you go to checkout, there'll be a button. You can click the box and you'll say 14-day trial. Okay, and by the way, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave us a review, and share your feedback. Let us know if there's a guest you'd like to hear from on the topics you want us to explore, including AI. Appreciate you, entrepreneurs, and remember, David Hill is my name, and closing sales is my game.